it's like Day of the Dead, just recreating life, motion pictures, and that's a nice, warm, dark color there. With not a sharp red, but I guess, warming red that's a little soft to accompany. Is it like that? Or is it like... Interesting. It's a little bit off-center. But you know what? It's not too bad. Make that a lot off-center. Let's put the jokers back in their box. Shuffle up our cards and get ready for our first game of the night. I'm feeling pretty good for tonight. Energy levels decent. Excitement maybe apparent. Kinda sucks though. I was just thinking it feels like October went by relatively quick this year. At least for me. For me, I think September feels like one of the longer months, next to August. October's like a 9 out of 10 month. It's a silly question. What rating would you give October for the month? I think it's pretty obvious for myself that I would give Christmas a 10, or December, because of Christmas and the anticipation there. Just colder weather, time with family, holiday music for me. I prefer the classics, instrumentals, Jackson 5, holiday versions, just a whole bunch. Thanksgiving would also be, or November would also be a 9. September, definitely not 9. I'm feeling more of like a 6 there. August. You know what? It's kind of funky. I think that one will be variable for a lot of people. But I think I'd give August more of a 4. It's summer's wrapping up, depending if you have, just for most people I think, younger, it could be more anxiety filled, even though you get to see friends again in elementary and high school, and find new relationships. It could be just as much as a burden. And knowing that another summer has passed. July, it's pretty stinking hot. But it's fun when you embrace the heat. So I think July gets like a 7. You know what? 7.5. June. June, it would also get a 7.5. Similar to, it's like the inverse of August. And that's the end for game number 1, as we had a pretty nice run, but couldn't get into our larger stacks over there. 3 queen, 4 9 queen, and a 7 with no place to go. Our final play is that 2, as we move on to game with the same number. May, I think's about a 6. April, I think another 6. March, probably a 5. February, probably another 5, just because that's when the cold weather starts to leave. The days start to get longer. January, I think that's like a 7. Agree or disagree? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's get into game 2. And another question after we deal out our game. Have you ever celebrated Day of the Dead? I have kind of only once. And it was kind of interesting as it slightly changed my viewpoints on death. But my viewpoints on death have been, actually come to think of it, very interesting throughout my life. But in the most recent, let's say, 7 years or so, I believe it's matured to not being scared whatsoever of death, but accepting when it may come, whether down the line or random. You work with the cards you're dealt, to put it simply. And it's not really much of a sad thing to me when someone close to me dies, unless it's a tragedy. But even then, it's just once someone's gone. I think of it more as a celebration of their life, even in instances where it may have been cut short. That person was probably a gift to many around them. And would you rather have 20 years of somebody, or 5? Of course you'd want 80, but that's not how life is all the time. And unfortunately, it could be just having someone for a minimal seeming amount of time, but then they leave a mark that lasts several lifetimes. I don't want to get too into that stuff right now, but we earn our first fat stack. We'll end that line of thought just because I think that could be a little more touchy. I still want to keep it pretty light for this episode. Double tens, double black kings. And it looks like we're in a little bit of trouble that we might be able to work out of if necessary. Double sevens. And our fate is underneath this too. How far can we build? Alright, we're pretty much given an amazing chance right here. Not what we wanted. But still, our chance continues. We're stuck with the jack. One red 8, but not the other. And that ends our streak of a potential comeback here. 9, 10. And the kings and the jack nowhere to go. We built as much as we could. Couldn't quite close it out in game number 2. Why not? To offer triple queens, the killer queens, that's what should be the phrase. Pulled us down. In that one. If you don't know, couldn't quite tell, I am mainly, I guess, Native American, a mixture of North and South American. My South American is Peruvian. The Incas, I think. I'm trying to remember exactly where. Near Lima, I think. And in the United States, just several different types of Native American. Obviously near the West Coast to kind of Western Central America. And I was never too religious growing up, despite having that surrounding me a little bit. And I was introduced to death fairly young, with the full understanding. Lost my grandfather early. And I contemplated that stuff a lot for some reason. It didn't bother, even though I didn't have too much, in quotes, faith. I still had a viewpoint of someday rejoicing. And I think more of my, I guess the word would be faith, but spirituality aligns with Native American thoughts, just organically. I think since a young lots of respect for certain things like animals, nature, sacrifices of nature. As we had a 3-4, Jack 5, 7, 7, 5, nowhere to go. On to game number 4. Now, I think you get the main point of it. I don't think it's fair to try and communicate this while we play, so again, another thought to rest. As triple aces, triple twos. Make that a set of twos. Splatter the field. On to our deck reading. I was going through a lot of thoughts in my head right now. And it was more before I stopped myself going to a negative place, not within myself, but with the environment, meaning like area where I live and surrounding. Nothing like specifically to myself, but just human nature type of thing. And disappointment in certain aspects. It all started with, what did I do during Day of the Dead? And it was just going to a cemetery, that's the word, and seeing all these families celebrate previous family members, whether they were close or not, acknowledge them and show their appreciation for what the path that they made for themselves and those to follow. And it's just really refreshing thinking about it. Anyway, so not much else besides that, mainly observance. I suppose celebrating was a loose term. Like if your sports team wins the World Series or World Cup, you feel like you've won despite not even touching a soccer ball. Even if you were at the game, you feel like you've won. Because I think it's more in spirit, I suppose. Did not expect our episode to go this way, so I must laugh at it. As we have triple sixes on the field, double twos. But some room to wiggle. I think they call that wiggle room. Our fourth ace. Still the triple six. Black five. Any five at this point, my goodness. Nope, just another possibility for a six. Oh yeah, deck reading. Decent feel and handling to the cards. Not too durable. Well balanced on the front. If light shading within each suit, even in the little fonts up here. So nice, minor attention to detail. Back design, one of my favorites with its theme. Besides the durability being in question, not much negative to say. As we earn our second and third fat stacks to our left. And chances are we're not going to see that 5 for a while. Four double jacks to follow. And let's hope for a 10 or a king underneath this 8. And a 10 beneath this queen. Oh, rats. So no triple fat stack game, but on the bright side, it looks like we've just clinched our first game of the night, my friend. Oh wait, oops. Let's do it. I don't think I still gave a rating. My bad. 8 out of 10. Well balanced. That's where it gets its higher rating. This is always my favorite part. I really wish I knew how many wins we had. Alright. As we stack up the final kings, here we have all of these spades in order. Clubs. Hearts. And diamonds, ace to king. I also wonder our ratio of fat stacks to victories. 8 to king. 4 to ace. So what's that? About a third of the deck. Little over. Right, final game coming up. I would guess we would have like a 4.2 at least fat stack to win ratio at this very certainty on that statement. As our final game starts, pretty rough. Well, almost did nothing for us. Nowhere for that 9. Thank goodness. 7 and 4. Change our luck. Moving forward. That's a little tough one to pronounce. Forward. I think most of the time I do have pronunciations and effort to do a more proper pronunciation. Like I won't say forward, like F-O-R-D to say forward, but it's a mixture between forward and ford. Yeah, random thought. Like library. As a kid, of course, library, but brary. Looks like those 5s were enough to do the damage as we end with 1 right here and a couple on the field. Triple queens to taunt. A 7. King. King. And a 5. Nowhere to go. A little bit of a stinker to end our night, but altogether pretty solid. 3 fat stacks and a win. But some negative stats for sure to follow. Triple 3s. Triple 10s. That looks to be it. I think this one might come back later. Very pleasant. And now I have to decide which decks I want to bring back for later this week. Even including our older ones. Most of them anyway. Besides that, my friend, I hope you enjoyed. You know why I did. Look at those little pumpkins. Smiling like a couple of jack-o'-lanterns. Until I